Hello and welcome back to Suspended Solids. I'm Mike, and today we're going to be talking about the Helix Hydrocyclone and the testing that was done to validate that it would work with today's typical pump setups. So as was mentioned in a previous video, this small hydrocyclone, which was the basis for the beginning of the design for this one, worked very well in a low volume pump setup. However, when used with a cerami pump or a Harbor Freight pump, it was just too much volume for this to handle. So to validate that this pump would in fact work correctly, I set up a bunch of testing benchmarks. So if you have a cerami or a Harbor Freight pump and you're running it through a semi-typical agitator setup is like what you see here, you can expect it to produce about 9 to 10 gallons per minute through the hose without the gun attached. Now, configurations vary greatly, so it's important to test your setup before purchasing one of these to make sure that it'll work correctly. I do not guarantee this product if this test has not been performed. I'll get more into how to perform that test later, but be aware that all it requires is taking your gun off of your hose and taking your hose and putting it into a typical 5-gallon bucket like this one right here. This last rib at the top is the 5-gallon mark. If you start filling this bucket and start a timer and you fill it to this 5-gallon mark in about 35 to 40 seconds, then you can be assured that your pump is putting out about 9 to 10 gallons per minute. That is the flow rate that works very well with this Helix Hydrocyclone. Other flow rates may work well with this as well. However, they have not been tested and validated with this design. So just want to make sure I go over this with you for a second before it gets dropped into the testing rig. This is a typical cerami 2.4. It comes out, it goes through this 4-way manifold, comes down through 3/4 inch PVC to a 5/8 barb fitting. That's on each side. So depending on your setup, you may be more restrictive or more permissive with the agitation, which can result in a different volume coming out of the top to your gun. So please make sure you validate this, and to perform the bucket test, I'll show you how it's done in a later video, but this will assure that your Helix Hydrocyclone will work very well with your setup.